Even if you haven't been paying close attention for the last 5 years, you know that the 2008 financial crisis led to the worst recession since the Great Depression, swelled the ranks of the unemployed, and saw multi-billion-dollar companies disappear overnight, and millions of people either lose their homes or walk away from their mortgage contracts. You likely have heard that the meltdown nearly crippled banks and other financial industries worldwide. You also hope that the new regulatory bodies and governmental bureaus, created under the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, will help prevent a recurrence. What actually caused the meltdown? This has been the subject of much speculation. We've all been told that it was largely the fault of greedy Wall Street bankers, who got rich while impoverishing ordinary people and leaving the economy in a shambles. From the earliest days of the crisis, this was the seemingly unanimous conclusion of the media and commentators, and it stuck. But even the 10 members of the official government commission formed to study the crisis couldn't agree on its causes. How likely is it, then, that the politicians in Congress at the time of the crisis, or reporters for Time, Newsweek, and CNN, truly understood it? And if they did not understand it, how likely is it that the politicians and reporters' favored remedies will actually cure the disease? If you've studied the crisis beyond the first blush impressions, you may be aware that a myriad of issues play a role in this story. But you probably don't know the intriguing details of how Washington insiders, joined by activists and philanthropists in the private sector, laid the foundation for the crisis that broke into full public view in the autumn of 2008. Or that they did so through a cluster of political efforts and policy decisions originally designed to help the poor and disenfranchised. Those policies ultimately had the curious effect of not only hurting the poor, but also of lowering many middle-class Americans into the ranks of the poor, while further empowering both the special interest groups who pushed for the policies and the political class who enacted them. Even less well known, and perhaps even more important to understand, is that many of the same insiders and activists responsible for creating the financial crisis are now claiming to have the solution, and using the crisis to infiltrate and seize control of large swaths of the American economy. To do so, they're using the apparatus of reform to make permanent the very causes of the meltdown. Aspects of this story have leaked out in dribs and drabs, but many important and disturbing elements of this tale are revealed here for the first time. Understanding them is the first step in recognizing what we can do to prevent a far more serious financial and political disaster. Being there. How I came to tell this story requires a little autobiographical background, since it's not obvious why a philosopher with an interest in economics would write about the financial industry. You see, I recognize many of the insiders, activists, and philanthropists I discuss in these pages, because I thought just like them not so long ago. If you were to travel back to 1985 to a small liberal arts college near Austin, Texas, you'd find there an enthusiastic freshman listening with rapt attention to all the standard arguments against capitalism. The college was welcoming and stately, its buildings constructed with a white stone indigenous to South Texas. The school was in the process of shedding its religious roots in favor of a social gospel, similar in origin, if not in presentation, to that of the Reverend Jeremiah Wright, President Obama's longtime pastor in Chicago. It was a liberal setting, encouraging political activism and appealing to bright young minds, eager to absorb enough knowledge and wisdom to change the world.